Regardless if you're doing self-hypnosis, or you're seeing a hypnotherapist, or you're the subject of a stage hypnosis show, the state of mind you're in is still hypnosis. It's all the same. There's no difference in how you feel whether you're in the hypnotic state, regardless if it was initiating through self-hypnosis or a hypnotherapist inducing the state. How you feel is exactly the same, even if you're in a natural state of hypnosis while watching a movie or falling asleep at night. What you'll feel is very relaxed and very focused. That's exactly what hypnosis feels like, relaxed and focused. Now, the difference between self-hypnosis and hypnotherapy is obvious. The state of hypnosis is either brought on by yourself with self-hypnosis or by someone else like a therapist, which is hypnotherapy. Self-hypnosis is brought on by yourself, whereas heterohypnosis is brought on by someone else. The process in which you enter the hypnotic state is also different between self-hypnosis and heterohypnosis. With heterohypnosis, the hypnotic state is induced through an overload of message units which disorganizes the critical factor of mind, that filter between your conscious and subconscious minds. That process is called the induction. Its sole purpose is to overload the mind to the point that it wants to escape into a state of hypnosis. With self-hypnosis, however, the hypnotic state is entered through progressive relaxation and repetition and association, in that order. More on that in the third part of the video series. Now let's say you bought a self-hypnosis CD to quit smoking, lose weight, or for something else. Is that self-hypnosis or heterohypnosis? Well, it was advertised as self-hypnosis, so it must be self-hypnosis. Well, not quite. When you're listening to a self-hypnosis CD, then that's actually still heterohypnosis and not true self-hypnosis. True self-hypnosis is brought on entirely by yourself without listening to a CD or music in the background. Even if you recorded yourself giving yourself relaxing suggestions to get into the hypnotic state and played it back to yourself, it's still not true self-hypnosis. It's heterohypnosis because the state of mind is ultimately being induced by someone, or in this case, something else. That's one of the reasons self-hypnosis may not have worked for you in the past. Because you were listening to a CD, that made it heterohypnosis, and you may not have actually been in a real hypnotic state. If you tried self-hypnosis in the past and didn't have much success with it, there's a few more reasons for that. Like I already mentioned, you may not have actually been in a hypnotic state from whatever CD you were listening to. This could be due to a poorly produced CD or put together by hypnotists that didn't have proper education or just didn't know what they were doing. The method you'll be learning today, however, to induce the hypnosis is practically foolproof. Anyone can get into a state of hypnosis using the method I'll be teaching you. Another reason self-hypnosis may not have worked in the past is because you may have been in a meditative state and not a hypnotic state. The difference between meditation and hypnosis is that meditation is simply to clear your mind. That's basically it. People enjoy meditation because it feels nice to actually have a clear mind, where one can think about something more clearly and come to a conclusion much easier and faster, where your thoughts are more organized. Hypnosis is a state of mind where you're both relaxed and focused. And in that state, that filter between the conscious and subconscious minds, called the critical factor of mind, is broken down, and you're hypersuggestible. Because you're hypersuggestible when you're in that state of hypnosis, you can now actually suggest to yourself positive affirmations to improve yourself in whatever area of life you need help with. Another reason it may not have worked before is because you may not have actually had a clear goal in mind when you tried self-hypnosis in the past. Maybe you were listening to a CD with very generalized suggestions, or had suggestions that didn't apply to you. The moment you hear a suggestion that doesn't apply to you, it makes you doubt the authenticity of the following suggestions, thereby ruining your self-hypnosis session. Another reason is because you might be more of a pessimistic thinker than an optimist. If you're pessimistic, then you're going to be sabotaging yourself all throughout your self-hypnosis session with doubt, negative images, or giving yourself suggestions of what you don't want rather than what you actually do want. You may think of yourself as an optimist or a pessimist, but here's one way you can actually find out. Take a look at something you wrote down with a pen or pencil on unlined paper. If the sentences in your handwriting slants upward, then it indicates you're an optimist. If it slants downward, then it indicates you're pessimistic. Here's two handwriting samples from two different people. The one from Annie Kaufman on the left indicates he was a pessimistic thinker because the majority of his sentences slant downward. However, the one on the right from Betty White indicates she's an optimist because her sentences slant upward. Regardless of what you find in your own handwriting, it only indicates your thinking patterns at that time in your life. If you look at something you wrote down 15 years ago and see downward slant in handwriting, then you may have been just going through a troubling situation in your life. But if your handwriting slants upward today, then it means you found the positive things in life that come out of bad situations. You have the ability to see the good in even negative situations. Along the same lines of optimistic or pessimistic thinking are the type of suggestions you are giving yourself. If you focus on what you don't want in hypnosis, then you're actually going to get the things that you don't want. The reason for this is because when you're in a hyper-suggestible state, you take in everything you think about, including the things you don't want to take in. Your subconscious mind thinks in pictures, not words. So if you say to yourself, I don't want to smoke again, then your subconscious mind is going to give you a mental image of yourself smoking, and you accidentally take in the inferred suggestion to smoke. Now, if I told you whatever you do, don't think of an elephant, then you're going to think of an elephant. Because your subconscious mind thinks of pictures, it has to first give you a mental image of what an elephant is so that you can understand what you're not supposed to think about. Same thing goes with when you're in a hypnotic state, but even more so because you're hypersuggestible. You also need to focus on the wording of the suggestions you're giving yourself while in self-hypnosis. Your subconscious mind doesn't hear negative words like no, don't, or not, and so on. It can only process the positive parts of the statement. So if you give yourself the suggestion, I don't want to smoke, then your subconscious mind is going to first give you the image of yourself smoking, and that's bad. And then it's going to remove the don't part, and it's going to take in the suggestion, I want to smoke. A better way of forming this statement is to focus on the positive way and say what you are of what you want. So if you say to yourself, I am a non-smoker, then your subconscious mind is going to give you an image of yourself being smoke-free, and it took in the statement in its entirety as a suggestion that you are a non-smoker. So that's a few reasons why self-hypnosis may not have worked for you in the past. Now that we know what not to do, I'll explain how to get the most out of your self-hypnosis sessions. Once you're in the hypnotic state, then it's time for you to give yourself the positive suggestions of what you do want so that you can achieve